Okay, the advent of modern society, room number 4, the Crucible. Yay, we're here. Present day, thank goodness. So, we at this point we've gone from freedom and spirit, now we're at the very bottom level of materialism and constraint. The reason we're there is because it's gotta be readily apparent to anyone walking the earth right now that if we continue our ways of just consuming materialism, competitive, profit at any cost, finance-oriented philosophy, we're just not going to make it. Our planet is in such dire straits, both philosophically, environmentally, socially. It's in a duress that it's never experienced before. And it's funny. I don't want. My purpose of outlining even the whole history is to not. The thing I hate is a sense of a guilt of living in modern society. It's like, yeah, things are really messed up, but it's not because we're sitting there and we're just jerks. I don't like the born in sin concept. It makes no sense. We are just figuring out these things, trying to enhance our survival, and we have to come to this point in order to mature enough and learn our own boundaries to be able to make the change to go to the more evolved parts of the resolution of these things we've had to learn. We have had to go from this total spiritual connect. If we were all still spiritually connected to Earth and hadn't developed any technology, I wouldn't be able to get this idea across to you because we would have never developed video cameras or language or paints and canvases or anything like that. So it's necessary to get to this level. The thing is, at this level, it's a very exciting time to be alive because we are the ones that are going to make that turn. We're going to be the ones that are starting the process of salvation and the restoration of Eden on our planet, mind, body, spiritually. So it's kind of cool. So basically what I wanted to get across in this painting is it's obviously a duality in the paintings. All the paintings thus far, if you'll notice, have been kind of a flat finish. They've used more muted colors, and they all have skulls in them at some point, and I use a tempera paint that'll naturally crack and start to erode. All those things are meant to evoke a sense of the deadness of the past. As this left side of the painting represents that all the lines in it are conflicting and going against one another. It represents a very consumer, stuff-oriented society. That all these are the advents of us learning and trying to make survival more comfortable and more guaranteed, I guess. Our lifespan extending and extending, knowledge growing and growing. But we don't want to get constrained and bogged down by them and just go with the same consume, dominate, control of a mature ego structure in number 3. We need to make a change and shift to the right side of the painting as a much more lines flowing together. Human beings start to use the things that we've learned to align our philosophy, our actions, our core belief systems with what we're starting to learn that the universe is actually up to, which is the universe functions as a cooperative, holistic, integrated system. So the fact that we even try to propose the idea that we can be a competitive, me versus you, abstract, profit-oriented life system and it actually work and survive and sustain itself in the universe gets rid of things like that. Anything that's entroponic ultimately dies. We've gone down an entroponic slide, but only in order to amass the knowledge and energy to make this change and go back up toward expansion. So our destiny is ultimately awesome, so I want to get rid of all this guilt and crap that society tries to pile on you. None of us are these sinners that are just these evil people destroying things. We're just born into a certain philosophic stage, and we need to just try to stretch our ability and be the foot on the accelerator of our own evolution and therefore the evolution of our society and our world. So, okay, this is where our very dominating and consuming, we've been breaking things down. We're just curious, man. We want to learn the rules of the game at this level. Barbara Marx Hubbard, in her book called Conscious Evolution, talks about a very great metaphor of if aliens came down and saw 2 people playing chess in the park, their first objectives would be to learn the rules of the game of chess. Just how do the pieces move? What is it? Why is it black and white squares? Why are there this many? What do the shapes mean? What are the positionings? And how do you win? The next objective would be to learn to be good at chess. But first you have to learn the rules of the game. What we're at right now is learning cause and effect, basically the rules of the game. So we're technologically, scientifically, consumer-oriented, profit-driven. All that stuff gets us to where we can break down matter so small, atoms, subatomic particles, to where they're just waves of potential. They're waves of possibility. They're all one subtle vibration that experiences itself and collapses on the one when observed by consciousness. Wow, these are going all the way through materialism to now starting to emerge very spiritual sounding concepts. We've launched a rocket off of the planet to the point where we can see it floating as this like blue jewel amongst the vastness of the cosmos. Well, we start to see that the surface of the earth curves back upon itself. Wow, it's not a limitless resource like we believed in number 3, where we can just burn that down. We can pollute the groundwater. It doesn't matter. There's more. Well, now we're starting to realize that if we do that, we're going to have to drink that polluted groundwater. If we go over there and blow up a civilization of people, well, there are going to be some mad people. There's nowhere to run. They're going to come find us and retaliate. You know what I mean? So it's having to learn some responsibility and some limits. I read this Einstein quote that said that society cannot fix its problems with the same level of consciousness that created those problems. So basically we find ourselves in this materialistic, on the verge of collapse and consuming everything to the point where it's a dangerous world, not in the way of like Attila the Hun is going to come in anymore and really kill us, but that our own lack of responsibility and connection to the earth that we used to have intrinsic in our first few substages is going to lead us to consuming ourselves to death. It's no longer the wind god or the rain god. It's a high-pressure system that the Doppler weather satellite has beamed down and tweeted me on my BlackBerry that I need to get my umbrella. None of those things have existed before. Technologically, we're supermen, but we haven't evolved any philosophic capability to handle the fact that we can split the atom and create huge, massive explosions that have a fallout life that poisons all the earth around it. So, if we are able to understand these concepts and accept responsibility for our actions, we can now go, oh hey, why don't I start to go with what I now find to be true about the universe? If we're all interconnected in one subtle vibration, as quantum mechanical theory now states on a very materialistic level, well, why don't I start to help my fellow man out? Why don't I start to try to feel the connection to all these things? Why don't I start to go with these things that will bring us back up to that freedom, that spirituality on a more mature level than we had in any of the previous substages? So that eventually leads us to the development of genius in room number 5. So let's go over there.